Hey everyone, it's 2025 and we got to talk about a book that can change your year drastically. Like I'm talking about, this book can really make a difference in your life. And it's called The Magic of Thinking Big by Dr. David Schwartz. And it's a little bit of an older book. It was published in 1959. This is actually a first copy of it. I got it on eBay for like a few bucks. But guess what? You can get this book for free on YouTube as an audiobook. You just type in The Magic of Thinking Big audiobook and it comes right up. And Dr. Schwartz brings down a very interesting story that happened. And he says that he witnessed an amazing thing. He was a vice president of a sales company who had his leading sales representatives on a stage. And he said, again, this is 1959, so the money is going to be a little bit different than what we would consider normal or a lot today. But he said that the leading salesman, we'll call him Harry, made $25,000 this year in sales, right? Again, that sounds absurd to us, but back then, 80 years ago, whatever it is, I guess that was a lot of money. So he made $25,000 in sales and everyone else made $5,000 in sales. So he made 5 times more than everyone else. And this vice president really wanted to drive home a point. And he said, I want you to look at Harry. Why is he making so much more money? Is he that much smarter than anyone? And he said, the truth is he's not. His IQ is about average as everyone else. And he said, do you guys think he worked 5 times harder than everyone else? And he's like, look at his hours. He didn't even work as many hours as you guys. And did he have a better territory? And maybe that's why he sold more? And he's like, no, he had the same territory that everyone else had. He had no advantages. So what exactly was the reason he made 5 times more? And I'll read you what he says. The difference between Harry and the rest of you, said the vice president, the difference is that Harry thought 5 times bigger. And when I read this story, it like really hit home. And he ends off here, he says, then the executive proceeded to show that success is determined not so much by the size of one's brain as it is by the size of one's thinking. And this puts so much of life into perspective. You could have so much raw talent. You could have so much capability and potential and just like everything going for you. But the size of your success is going to be limited to the size of your thinking. And we really have to reprogram our mind to be big thinkers. I mean, you could have a guy and he could say, you know what? I don't think I could make $300,000 a year. I think I can only make $100,000 a year, right? And once he puts that cap in his mind, like mentally, subconsciously, he's just going to aim for that 100,000. He's not even going to go and do anything that might bring him more because he put a cap on it. He put himself in this $100,000 box and that's it. He might reach it, he might not, but he'll never do something to get more because he's not thinking on that level. And you have another person that he's going to say, you know what, I want to open up a business, but I can't manage more than 1 store. 1 store is good for me. I'm going to make an honest man's living, and that's fine. But what happened if that person would grow his thinking, would enlarge his thinking and say, 1 store? Why not open a chain? Why not have 7 stores? Why not have a chain? Why not have 100 stores, right? And the person who thinks he's only going to have 1 store, usually at best, he only ends up with 1 store. But when a guy goes in with a big thinking and he's like, you know what, I want to open up a franchise. He may not open up a franchise, but because the size of his thinking is so big, so now the size of where he can grow is much bigger as well. And that's the amazing part. These 2 people may be identical. Maybe the guy that had in mind to open 1 store is even more talented, smarter, has more resources than the guy who wanted to open up a franchise. But none of that mattered in the reality of how successful they will be. And that's the mind-boggling thing. Like, you could have 2 people who are not even identical. One has more raw talent and capability than the other. But yet, that's not going to determine their success. What's going to determine their success is the size of their thinking. And like, we have to let that sink in because how many projects do we take on? How many things do we do in life? And we put this imaginary cap, this imaginary box around us, and it keeps us small. Maybe we don't believe in ourselves enough. Maybe we don't think, yeah, I could do it. I can open up a chain. I can open up a business. I can do this. I can do that. And because we have such a limited assessment and perspective on ourselves, so then we don't think we can create a lot. We don't think our success could be big and grand. And this is something that's so important going into the new year. The new year is a time that we all strive for something different. We don't want another copy and paste 2024. We want something bigger. We want something better. We want something to change in our life. And if we really want something to be bigger this year, then it starts here. It starts with the size of our thinking. We can't expect to have the same small thinking and go into 2025 and see big results. It's never going to happen. The only way that big results will happen is if we grow our thinking and start thinking big. And really, it's like magic. It's an unbelievable thing when you think about it. Your talent doesn't matter. Your IQ doesn't matter. Your capabilities don't matter. Your potential doesn't matter. Everything will only grow to the size of your thinking. Your thinking will either shrink you or will either enlarge you. So when you're thinking about the right way to approach 2025, I want you to take whatever thoughts you had, whatever ideas you had, and multiply them by 5. If you multiply them by 10 or 20, it might be too much of a shock right away. But maybe by 5, by 4, by 3, every person knows themselves. I want you to multiply your thinking. If you had a goal to do X, I want it to be X squared. I want you to think a little bit bigger. We all should think a little bit bigger because you know what? We're doing ourselves a disservice. We're stealing from ourselves. We have so much more capability than we give ourselves credit for. We have more power than we think. And when we enlarge our thinking, we fill those shoes. I think this is the right way to start 2025. Everything starts here. This is your biggest asset. You're in control of the size of your thinking. No one can put a limit on how big you think. So why think small when you can think big? Why give yourself just bite-sized successes? Why give yourself single-serving salary, single-serving success, single-serving goals? Why? Why not take a king size, right? You could either take that Snickers bar, that single serving, the mini bar, or you could take the king size. It's your life. No one's putting a limit on you except you. Give yourself a king size thinking. And if you change the size of your thinking, you're going to see your entire year will change and will be so much greater than you ever thought possible. That's today's video. I hope you found it valuable, and more important than my video, I think you really should go to YouTube right now and just write The Magic of Thinking Big audiobook and really start listening to this book as soon as possible. Like, it's unbelievable. It's free and it's so good. I've read this book maybe 5 times. Like, it's really that good. There's so much practical advice in this book. So do yourself a favor, start 2025 with a bang, with a great book, with growing your thinking, and you'll see whenever your thinking grows, your success will grow. And we owe it to ourselves to think big because we shouldn't steal the success that's destined for us.